Jim Boult. Jim Boult is a well-known senior member of the New Zealand business community in both management and governance. Jim is currently the Mayor of the Queenstown Lakes District Council and previously was CEO and Director of Christchurch International Airport. He has had extensive business interests in many fields, including construction, aviation, tourism, financial services, property, automotive, plant leasing, publishing and hospitality. Jim was made an Officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit in 2014 for services to tourism and the community, a Fellow of the New Zealand Institute of Management in 2012, and given a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Queenstown Chamber of Commerce in 2014.
Morning.
Kia Jim, how are you?
I'm good. Sorry about that.
No problem at all.
It's -3 this morning, and I've just had a very brisk walk from another meeting.
Oh, well done. Well, hopefully you're feeling full of energy. And look, I can't thank you enough for joining us on this Hobson Levy leadership sort of series. So we've interviewed a group of very senior executives across New Zealand just to get a perspective on how they've found the last 16 months. And obviously, as Mayor of Queenstown Lakes District Council and as a senior business leader in New Zealand and in that particular region, we thought it'd be really interesting to hear from you as to, what have been the biggest challenges through what has been described as really unprecedented times. And COVID-19, nobody ever imagined this was going to happen. So I guess I just wanted to hear from you in a really relaxed way. Jim, tell me a bit about some of the challenges that you faced.
Right. So look, the challenges, I guess the biggest challenge was that we were dealing with completely uncharted waters. Everyone in the tourism industry knew that sooner or later there would be a downturn. And if you compare it, say, to the GFC, where revenues probably dropped 15-20% or so, it was hard, but most people were able to survive it. In this instance, in a town that is completely dependent on tourism for its livelihood, our engine got turned off, quite simply. And so while the rest of New Zealand shared the close down with us, when people were allowed to go back to work post the lockdown, New Zealand came alive. We didn't. We were left with a domestic market which was patchy, to say the least. And so the challenge for us was, where's the precedent for this? How do we handle this? And there was no precedent for it. We were flying by the seat of our pants. We had a raft of side issues that came along with it. For example, we had roughly 5,500 migrant workers in the district. And unlike Kiwis, they had no financial support when their jobs ran out. And we had to get terribly innovative to ensure that these folk had a meal, had a place to live, etc. And again, no precedent for that.
And I imagine a significant amount of anxiety in that community as to what next and what was happening with their own families in various parts of the world, etc.
Yeah, and so there was a misconception at government level that these folk were all young people and they could pop on a plane and go home. The reality was that a lot of them had been here for 10 or 12 years, had got married here, had children. They were very much an established part of our community. And the view in government was, send them all home. Not that simple, and certainly we weren't able to do that. So, look, we were, to use the well overused term, we were designing the aeroplane while we were flying it, and there was just nothing like this had ever happened before. So that was a major challenge for us.
And so, Jim, what were the sort of biggest learnings from all of that? I mean, it is a crisis of sort of unrealistic proportion. What did you actually learn through that, and how you brought together the cohesion of the community, and what you actually set and train in order to get you, I guess, to where you're at today?
Couple of things I learned out of it. Firstly, the resilience of our community. If I look at it now, I'm amazed that we've had the small number of businesses fail that have actually failed. Employers here have been terribly resilient. Employees have been flexible, found ways to make do in the meantime. I am very, very proud of the community that I'm honoured to lead. They've done an amazing job of sailing through this storm. I have also learnt that personally, that one has to be terribly forthright in asking for assistance from central government. And they have listened to us, but we've had to get reasonably in their faces to get some assistance, which they have given, and I'm entirely grateful to them for listening to our message. But it's been a bit of a lesson for me into how to seek assistance for your problems.
Yeah, and put your hand up. It's interesting, isn't it? As a small business owner, I know that we were absolutely thrilled with the government's response with respect to the wage subsidy. And I know that's had some criticism, but I personally believe it was absolutely the right thing to do, because a lot of small business owners were very challenged about how to sustain their employees. And the thing we found remarkable was that it was announced and then it was literally in our bank account within a couple of days. So I think that certainly provided.
I think that was a very good move.
It was a really good move.
And you're right, it has been subsequently criticised, but hey, it's easy to look in the rearview mirror and criticise things. Look, I think the other thing that has become apparent to us, or to become apparent to me, is that in times of crisis, a community wants to know that somebody is holding the steering wheel. You know, it's the old adage of coming out of the foxhole with the flag flying high. People want to know that somebody's taking charge, somebody's setting a course forward and delivering on it. And while I wouldn't say we've done things perfectly, I think we have shown leadership to our community at council.
Undoubtedly. Yeah, I mean, you can't sort of let a good crisis go without creating some opportunities, I guess. And I was just interested to explore where you see the community now, how they've adapted, how people have become, more agile, and what are the biggest opportunities for the Queenstown Lakes District area? Okay,
so I've said before that we were pretty much totally dependent on the tourism industry. Tourism industry is worth around $3 billion a year to our little part of the world in retail spend in the area. And 2 billion of that is international, 1 billion domestic. So it gives an idea of just how much impact this has had. But we've talked for years about diversifying our economy. And look, when things are going spiffingly well, it's something you talk about when you think, oh, one day we'll do something about that. So if we've needed a wake-up call to diversify our economy, we've had it. And council and the community have embarked on several initiatives to not so much look to, but to actually put some hard work into creating other economic generators in the district. It's also, I think the other side of it that's come out of this is people have become aware of the need to help others. We had a wonderful exercise here in the middle of last year when some locals got together and raised $1 million in the space of 6 weeks to help those who were struggling in the community. And I think people have kind of looked at things differently and said, gee, it's all very well having my own life terribly comfortable, but I need to look after my neighbours. And I think that's a great positive that's come out of this. I look at tourism, and tourism will come back. We live in one of the most gorgeous parts of the world, and people will want to come back here. But I think it'll be a little different in the future. I think it will take some time to recover. We've talked for years about high value tourism. I think this will be the catalyst to take us there. I see that international travel will cost more in the future. So, just perhaps we may end up with that ultimate goal of high quality tourists.
I think also that people will become a lot more considered about their travel and probably stay for a bit longer. I don't know, because the idea of sort of coming for a short period of time to the other parts of the world, probably not quite so popular. People have recognised some of the improvements that have happened as a consequence of not flitting here, there and everywhere, particularly with respect to our environment. And I just believe that people will be a lot more focused about their travel, a lot more sort of with intent, and think about actually having a really great experience while they're in the region. And I guess I would have thought that the domestic tourists coming down to Queenstown, what else can we offer them? How do we really make their stay quite special? And it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think, as you said, it was 1/3, 2/3 international, whereas now, thank goodness you had the 1/3 from New Zealand that have supported the community. But, how do we really leverage that? Often people have said to me, oh, we've been to Queenstown, so we're not going to go back. But then it's kind of, well, actually, where else are you going to go? So why don't you go back and do something different and have a different experience? So
I think a lot of Kiwis, when you say they've been to Queenstown, for a lot of them, it was quite historical. Yes. And they've now come back and said, gee, it really is a cool place. There are lots of things to do. There are fabulous restaurants, there are wineries, there are great trails to walk or ride or run. It's a stunning climate. The scenery is amazing. And there's all these adventure activities that we haven't tried, we've only ever read about. So there's that. To your point about visitors staying longer, I think that will happen. If there's one thing that comes out of this, it may be a lessening of the sort of right now phenomenon of people saying, I'm doing that and tomorrow I'm doing something different. Let's just understand that if you're going to go to a place like this, you need to soak it all up. One of the other interesting things is Kiwis have started exploring parts of New Zealand that were less well explored. Stewart Island has gone off. For example, overnight cruises at Doubtful Sound have gone well.
No, that's really interesting. I think as the world opens up too, we've got a huge opportunity as New Zealand Inc. Because we're perceived internationally as being having provided such a strong response to this crisis. I think there'll probably be even more people that will want to come and visit. And I guess it's our challenge to make sure that those are done in considered ways and that we get them to have the best possible experience that they can when they do. But there is a big opportunity for New Zealand Inc. Do you agree? Yeah,
I do. I spent last week in Australia doing a promo with Destination Queenstown. And New Zealand is very highly perceived by our Trans-Tasman cousins And I suspect a large number of them are going to come here. Well, I don't suspect, I know a large number are going to come here during ski season. Our efforts were about attracting them to come here in springtime and summer. But look, talking to friends elsewhere in the world, we are perceived as a very cool country. And I think New Zealand's awareness around the world has gone up dramatically. I was amazed last year. I don't know whether you noticed it, but I jumped off a bridge to mark the return of domestic tourism. It went completely viral around the world, and
amazing.
I was getting emails from South America and from the Netherlands and Italy and all sorts of places. And there was just this thing about New Zealand that was, whatever happened here seemed to make news. So we've been noticed.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's fantastic. And I guess one of the biggest challenges really is how we're going to manage that growth all of a sudden from quite a low base, and how we manage to retain employees and provide the services that we want to, so that tourists have a great time.
Well, you've just morphed on to one of our big challenges at the present time, and that is lack of employees.
Yeah.
So here we go from where we were last year with the town dying with no customers to the biggest concern for ski season coming up is lack of staff.
Yeah.
And it's not so much in the specialised areas, we're okay in that area, but it's the hospitality workers, the cleaning staff for hotels and motels, the back of kitchen workers, etc. And government has a view, which I support, of trying to get Kiwis into these roles, but the reality is nobody's going to move from somewhere in the North Island to Queenstown to take a job cleaning toilets.
Yeah.
And we need our migrant workers, so that's an issue for us to address going forward.
Oh, well, Jim, thank you so much. I really appreciate your
You're
comments. And it's been fantastic to have a chat to you, and congratulations on your outstanding leadership.
Thank you, and apologies again for being late.
No problem at all. You go well.
Okay, right.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.